Did any of y'all wear a sweater and a wool blazer today? And have the heater on by your feet? So I ordered the TikTok shop, the little trash can with the 3 little legs, right? It's phenomenal. You know that you're an adult when you're excited about appliances and stuff that you get at Home Depot. Hello, were any of you guys, hey Mark, were any of you guys on the cruise with us? So several of us were on the cruise. Probably, I don't know, a dozen people came up and said to me that they liked me, and then probably 40 people just gave me the look. So I don't know if it's my information or my beauty that overwhelms them, but it was a fun cruise. Fun, fun, fun. All right. All right, kids, ask away the questions.
Okay.
Look at Stephanie's cute little glasses.
Yes. Yes.
You're at that age?
I'm at that age. I had LASIK done. So I had LASIK done. They said it would be 5 to 10 years. And within 6 months of having LASIK, it happened.
Boom. It happened. It happens. And then you turn into Karen, where you have a cup of glasses. But I have cups of these. I have cups of these everywhere. Everywhere.
I just want to know, do you have any that are 0.25 that you can send? Because I can't find them anywhere.
Ma'am, that's called squinting. If you need 0.25,
I know, that's what I meant, but
you need to keep squinting. We don't want to hear about it. So, listen, I'm going to ask you guys, since you're on and we're all close personal friends, how do you feel about me joining the TikTok shop? I buy so many things on TikTok. Like, I just got this, you guys. You guys should see this. You guys should see this. You're all going to want this. Do you know what this is? This is an electronic box cutter. Who wouldn't want that? Yeah, I think it's not charged yet. Oh. Wouldn't y'all buy that? Yeah, so I should join the TikTok shop, shouldn't I?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. All the eyes. Oh, look, somebody said join it. Yeah, Kelly said join it. I'm joining it, Kelly H. Jones. That sounds like an attorney. Kelly H. Jones here in the courtroom. Okay, they said join it. Everybody said join. I'm joining. Okay, go ahead.
Our 504 meetings scheduled to only be 10 to 15 minutes long. The principal said that they were.
No, it takes me longer than that to get my eyebrows on. I don't know what you would do in 10 or 15 minutes to talk about a child with a disability that needs support at school. So, Buttercup, if that is the only time that you have available, let's look at a time that we can have an important meeting about an important child.
I've had 2 of my children years ago now in my home state of Nebraska who are now, it says doing IEPs, so I would assume that means that they are now special education teachers.
That's awesome. That makes me so happy. My children are now 44 and 46. You did a good job.
Is there such thing as a self-accommodating test?
No, I can tell you that's irritating though. Yeah. A child doesn't implement their civil rights. It's the weirdest thing.
What does an advocate look for in a meeting with a higher behavior needs student?
Robust data. We make decisions on robust, pristine data. I had some data this morning that I won't show you, and it was the first week of October. It had Monday through Friday, and it had all faces. It looked like this. That's not data. So your choice is either to be ecstatic or, about to jump off of a building. Let's not do that to children. Let's have data that helps us program to address his unique circumstances.
Okay. Any ideas for school professionals who don't feel comfortable around a new director?
We're not recording this, are we? I mean, you can always just, in Texas, we might drop a Snicker bar in your gas tank. Just for fun. No, I mean, that is unfortunate that the director of special education would make the people underneath them anything other than happy to be in the field that they're in. But we do see that sometimes. And here's the thing with special education. It is either amazing or it is not amazing based on one thing, leadership. And you either have a stink pot at the top or you have an amazing leader at the top. Christy said, say it loud. Is stink pot like one of the eligible? I think that's the 14th eligibility under IDA. Stink pot. Elena, this is serious. It's Tuesday night. Thanks, you guys, for the gifts.
Serious face.
I know.
Can a teacher without an appropriate low incident degree be a case manager or teacher?
They could be a teacher if they met their state's obligations for teacher certification, which those are very broad across the United States, and I'm fine with that. But there is no state that has an exemption, exception, or waiver for special education certification.
Student from Iowa with an IEP with no eligibility. Iowa says not an eligibility state. Thoughts?
I would say, have you put a fence around your state, Iowa? Is that like part of football season? You just put a fence up? We don't have kids that have eligibilities here. So let me address that. So Iowa doesn't have specificity around names of eligibility, but that's okay. That's covered in the federal code under 300.111D as in da-da. And it says the student doesn't even have to be listed by a disability as long as we agree as a committee that that student is in need of special education and related services. And so we provide that.
Should a parah be trained to read Braille that is a one-to-one with a visually impaired child?
So that's a really good question. So first of all, we're about to start a parah series. October, I'm going to have to do some adding right now. October 22nd, we will start our parah series. All things parah. It's probably going to go through the rest of the year. It's going to be amazing. So if you have a parah that's assigned to a student that their literacy is Braille, they would need to be equitable in the ability to read that literacy option. So if that's in Braille, you would have to know how to read Braille, correct Braille, answer questions, all the things.
My child has had no OT for a month. What suggestions would you have?
I would reach out to the campus and go, my student hasn't been receiving the IEP that's codified and it hasn't been delivered with fidelity. Knowing that we can only go forward, when will the services start, and what will be the compensatory package you're offering to mitigate that loss?
Can parents request a student have a notes page for tests or exams through a 504 plan?
If a student needs that, then they rise to the level higher than a 504. You have to realize a 504 is not, say it with me, this will make people mad in the comments. It's not an education plan. You know how you know that? Because it's not called an education plan. It's the 1973 Rehabilitation Act of 1973. So it simply means that if you have an identified disability, whether you're in school or whether you're at work, it's a benefit of being a disabled person in America, that you can't be denied your accommodations. But it was never meant to be an educational product.
Any suggestions for data collecting for severe behaviors with time and things and being a second year student on an IEP? I would assume that last part was.
So I think your question was about how do you collect data. So you should have an IEP chair, an ARD facilitator, an IEP lead, somebody who's in charge of curriculum, an assistant director of special education. They should be providing you that as a special education provider at the beginning of the instructional year. So I'd reach out to them. What is the product that we use to collect data in our district to look at behavior?
I requested an IEP evaluation for my daughter because of behavior. She was denied because she was strong in her academics.
What? Wow, that sounds like those are two different things. You know why? Because they are. Oh, Lord, help me. So we don't look at academic needs. We don't look at behavior needs. The law says we look at an educational need. So you can be the valedictorian and need an IEP for behavior.
My son does not want to eat in front of anyone. What could I add to his IEP to help?
I mean, I'm not a professional anything. I mean, it sounds like an emotional need. So maybe we reach out to look at psych services and maybe get a counseling as related service evaluation, because that is something that's going to impede him in his lifetime. He'll need to be able to eat in front of people, and he'll be able to eat in front of his college roommates, in front of his, his coworkers. So that's something we certainly need to work on.
Okay. We have one here that might stump you, Karen.
I don't think that's a thing.
What color is that lipstick? You look gorgeous.
That lipstick is 165 L'Oreal. 165 L'Oreal. You just can't go wrong with L'Oreal.
Yeah, I agree.
You know that I know my lipsticks. I mean, I know my kids. It's an Aaron Brockovich thing.
Yes, it is for you. Okay. So, my daughter-in-law asked for a video of my grandson's special class to see how he has been doing. It's been a month. What do I do?
Yeah, we don't get a video of your child with a disability in school. We certainly can have a meeting. We have a parent-teacher meeting. But we have privacy laws for all children, but we don't just send a video. But certainly if you want to observe the class, they can set that up, whether that's from a distance or, but we don't send a video of the classroom instruction.
Okay. Should there be a signature line for the final IEP plan?
Well, it depends on what state you're in. There are some states, you know who you are. You rhyme with Kentucky, stuff like that. I don't know, it's just a legal document that you just take federal and state funds for. I mean, I got to sign to park my car, so I don't know why we don't have to sign for that, but not every state requires that. I do want to say something because it comes up a lot. So a lot of times people ask if they can just call me and ask questions, if they can call and get a consult. Can we call you and talk about me doing a job change? Can I call and talk to you about a filing? You can do that if you go to specialeducationacademy.com/trainings. At the bottom, there's a way to book an hour of my time to do a straight Zoom where you have all the questions you want asked directly and answered by me.
Okay. Can a parent request a student have a notes page for tests or exams through a 504 plan?
Still the same question. If you need a notes page for testing, we done blew past a 504. That information triggers child find. Pew, pew, pew.
Pew. I'm trying. Our questions don't come up in the same order as
I
each
understand.
other, so I'm trying
It's
to-
fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I request the evaluation for my daughter because of behavior, but she was denied
because of
strong
academics. How did I know that already? Yeah. Let me ask a couple of questions and we'll jump in. What are unreasonable IEP accommodations? It's emailing parents your upcoming lesson plans on one of them. Yeah. Go teach. Parents don't run you. Advocates don't run you. Parents don't run me. Schools don't run me. Let teachers teach. Let's not be banana heads and they don't answer to you. This is not private school. They're not one of your employees. They're teachers who love children and they spend days with them and they're educating them. If you're that much in need of information about your child, maybe they shouldn't be in public school. I said that and I meant it. Let's just back up, let teachers do their job, but we don't need to micromanage them. Would you want to be micromanaged? I would not.
Okay. What can be done with the para being with 2 students at a time during Gen Ed who are on 2 different, and it stops there? I was going to say 2 different.
Yeah, so I mean,
goals.
Yeah, so there's always, so let's say that we have a biology class, right? We have the 10th grade biology teacher, and then we have kiddos in the room that have in-class support, ICS. We know that one para is not giving every single minute to every kid. That's why there's support. They're not one-to-one paras. But that's not unusual that a para would serve a couple of kids and be able to provide their instructional minutes.
Okay. Are you familiar with Louisiana laws on special education?
My Lord, I am an hour and a half from the Louisiana border where it is the wild, wild Napoleonic law. We gonna do what we want to do. Karen, we love Louisiana. Yes, very familiar.
My son's school cut his time to only 2 hours a day because they don't want to deal with his behavior. What do I do?
So you would get representation. That's illegal. You don't cut their instructional day because you didn't cut the money you took. So it's your job to educate them based on their needs, functional behavior, social, emotional, communicative, all of those things. Sounds like you probably need representation. We have a team of amazing advocates that advocate from Massachusetts to Miami to Montana to the Kodiak Islands. So that's ridiculous.
Okay. In the state of Georgia, I was told my child had to be diagnosed by age 9. Does genetic deletion count?
So I think that that's sort of a mixed question. I think what you're talking about, you might be talking about in Georgia, we have DD, developmentally delayed. And so that eligibility goes away at 9. So we would need something to replace it. So you don't need a diagnosis to get special education. Those are certainly important factors that support them if you have an OHI, other health impairment. But I would ask for full testing in all 8 areas. We just did that series on YouTube. You can see all 8 areas that we test in so that we can do one of 2 things. We can identify or eliminate his unique circumstances.
Okay. My daughter has a 504 for ADHD and anxiety, but no goals. Does she automatically become eligible for an IEP with ADHD?
No, but I bet, I'm not a betting person, but I bet if she has ADHD and anxiety, that there are some IEP goals that we could write that would be appropriate to work on her unique circumstances.
Okay. If an IEP kid keeps having incidents with other IEP kids, what liabilities do school have?
Oh, I don't find that schools have a lot of liability. They're very much protected legally. They're a government entity. Certainly if you have 2 children, period, that are not successful around each other, we need to work on fixing that experience, that outcome, and that intersection.
Okay. What do you do when a school tries to merge MTSS with SPED to limit the students who need it?
I bust them up. I do a press conference, and we go live on the Tickety Talk. No, we're not doing that. What? That was new. That was congratulations. New question of the night winner. Why don't we just merge everything? Why don't we just put them in a pool somewhere, drain the school pool and put them in there, and let them know when the bell rings. Ugh.
That's a great idea.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Student was sent home due to staff shortage. They have a 1-to-1. Is that illegal? How do I navigate it?
Is it illegal to send home a child in public school because of staffing? It's very illegal. It's illegal in almost every way. You've been denied your civil rights. You've been denied FAPE. You have denied them an education. You've denied them access to their non-disabled peers. I would light them up like Christmas Eve.
Okay. My 7th grader with an IEP was tested at 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade in levels in reading. Where's the rest of the question? Okay, lost the second half of the question. What are a good resource for transitioning to middle school IEP meetings?
So what's a good resource for transitioning to junior high IEP meetings? So we're always doing the same thing. We're looking at the data. We're looking at current data. We're looking at robust data, appropriate data across content areas to see where he has a need, academically, emotional, functionally, any of those things. You're going to, when you're transitioning from an elementary school campus to a junior high campus, hopefully somebody from that other campus will be there to be able to answer general questions that the parents may have. The difference between elementary school and junior high is you're going to where you have 2 switch teachers and everybody knows that you are, everybody knows your name. Yeah. And junior high is 7 teachers, sometimes 8 teachers, and boom, 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 boom. As advocates, myself and my team, we find that there often is more problems the older you get and less attention to the IEP. So, we do so much fighting and contending for their eligibilities and services in elementary school. I think a lot of people think that we're on coast when we get to junior high and high school, and it couldn't be more wrong. So certainly look at getting representation if you need that.
If a staff member of a school physically hits a kid with an IEP, can I take the school to court?
So I would call Child Protective Services as if a staff member hit my child. Like, I don't care what anybody says in the comments. You hit my child, whether you're at church, Target, school, my house, I'm going to call it's against the law to hit minors. Let's just clear that up. So, but though when you go to due process with the school district, it's about the IEP implementation. That is a separate issue in your county or city. Those charges, if in fact there are charges, would be dealt with there. So I had a kiddo that we were in due process for his IEP, and that we also went to court in the Fort Bend County Justice Center, and I think she got, I don't know, second degree something and lost. But those are two totally different entities, and the county had to bring those charges.
My child is losing her hearing and it is now profound. What services can she receive under special education? She's in high school right now.
Yeah, so you want to look at a couple of things, right? Does she need interpreting services? Does she need DHH services? Does she need an amplified system? Does she need itinerant services? So you want to do a full evaluation for the eligibility of DHH, deaf and hard of hearing. Of course, that's a range. And to make sure that she has, the point of special education is one thing, right? Equal access. And when you're losing that sensory disability, then we're going to have to build on the others and adapt her materials for her education.
Should a parent be in charge of curriculum for a child receiving special education related services?
No. A para is not in charge of anything. A para comes along to support the persons that are in charge. Sorry, Stephanie, that made me nervous. I was just like,
Should I ask for an FBA or a BIP before entering kindergarten to ensure accommodations for my ASD kiddo?
So accommodations. So an accommodation it's not necessarily tied to behavior. So we ask for a functional behavior assessment, an FBA, because the behavioral needs of a student rise higher than the classroom teachers can manage on their own, right? So a functional behavior assessment is we identify behaviors that are impeding their learning or the learning of others. And then depending on the results of that FBA, it might give birth to a BIP, a behavior intervention plan, where we have targeted behaviors, we have antecedents, we have things that we know that worked, things that hadn't worked, and then those also become exact IEP goals.
General education teachers are teaching special education classes. Is that legal?
Does it sound legal? Did y'all see what I put on Facebook? If you don't follow me personally on Facebook, go over there. Anybody can follow me. Karen Mayer Cunningham. Put that in the comments. This is Cynthia, put that in the comments. So follow me on Karen Mayer Cunningham, just a regular Facebook page. Anybody can follow me. So we just did a post in the Houston area about all the school districts that have hired uncertified teachers. They weren't even talking about special ed. So, no.
My child's goals are not measurable, clearly defined, and only annual goals. What should I be requesting?
I would be requesting IEP goals based on his unique circumstances. So almost always when we receive draft goals, which is not a bad start, they are state standards. So just read it out loud. 36 instructional weeks, Billy will be able to do multiplication and division with 70% accuracy. That's what you want all the third graders to do. So read it out loud. It's a state standard. So what I say is there's nothing special ed about the goal, right? So what's special ed about the goal? I'm at 100 Main and I want to get to 100 Elm, and this is the way that I'm going to do it after direct and explicit instruction based and evidenced on what measurement. So the baseline has to, at minimum, exist in the present levels. Some state require for you to put it in the goal. What you're going to do, what is going to be the incremental growth over benchmarks or objectives, and what do we believe in 36 instructional weeks will be the final gain. That's how you write an IEP goal. I feel like I'm gonna need some emojis for that. I just feel like
What do I do if I know the school is not implementing my son's behavior intervention plan?
I would email the school and say it's very evident that you're not. It's very evident you're not implementing my child's behavior intervention plan. Do we need to have a meeting about that?
What are your thoughts on a one-to-one paraprofessional / PCA?
Not good. I don't want one-to-one. One-to-one's not real world. We need one-to-one if your child has nursing. When your child has one-to-one for literally every single second of the day, I'm going to be hard-pressed in almost 28 years of doing this of finding a child that needs a one-to-one every single minute of every single day. I would just be hard-pressed to find that. So let's look at it, even if we fade some of it. When he's sitting there engaged in a story, reading on the carpet, you don't need somebody to sit next to him. You don't. I think that we just say one-to-one, right? So all of special education is for 3 federal thresholds, right? Gainful employment, independent living, and further education. So we deliver the special education, and the goal is to what? Fade it. So a one-to-one, I'm never going to be a fan of permanently.
Should outside ABA therapists be allowed in the classroom to provide therapy?
Not legally. My opinion on it is just that. ABA is phenomenal. Public school is phenomenal. 2 totally different things. They couldn't be more different. ABA is one-on-one. You're reinforced all day long. That is not public school. It never will be public school.
IEPs are new to me, and I am lost in the meetings. How do you get help from an advocate? Do you pay them?
Yep, so advocates are fee-based. We have a wonderful team of advocates here at Special Education Academy. Just email us, advocate@specialeducationacademy.com, and we will make sure that your child gets the IEP and the services they deserve.
I would assume it's my child was denied an IEP request, and they will set up a behavior plan instead.
Yeah. So, did you get that in a prior written notice? Did the prior written notice have all 7 elements that are required by federal law?
I cannot get any attorneys to call me back. It seems that no one wants to take on this school. Can you all help?
Possibly. There are a lot of people that start out with an attorney, and one of our team members helps them, and they no longer need that level of support of an attorney. Love attorneys that love children. So almost everything that you would need in an IEP, from 3 to 18, almost everything can be served by an amazing advocate, and we have a team of those. There are very rare but very real times that you're going to need to pivot and get counsel. But most of the components, whether it's a state complaint, a mediation, a federal complaint with the U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights, we handle those every day.
My child, sorry.
I think maybe she doesn't need 0.25. I think maybe she needs 0.1. I think.
Well, stronger than that.
Yeah.
Looks like we didn't answer in a timely manner, so we got some repeats. What are unreasonable IEP accommodation? Is emailing parents your upcoming lessons plan one of them?
Yeah. I didn't go to work. I mean, I can't imagine if my clients told me to email them every day what I'm doing on their file. We don't do that. Teachers went to work to teach. They do not owe parents a day-to-day checkup, an email. Don't do that. Don't do that. We are there to work together with the IEP team, but they're the educators. They're going to do an amazing job, and we're going to continue to believe that and support them in any way we can. If you're that concerned about what's happening, then get back to a legal meeting.
I have an ESC student who needs gen ed time in pre-K, but the class is full, 22 to 2. Can they go?
So there's no requirement for general ed for ECSE students. There never has been. You know why? There's no requirement that kids go to school before they're 5 or kindergarten. So if you have a district, city, or county that has that availability, awesome. But not all schools do. I don't know that being around other 4-year-olds that might be ESL students, they may not speak English. I think that sometimes people think something's going to happen that doesn't happen. I mean, not in the nicest way. But remember, every time they leave their class from ECSC to go to general ed, that's what? A transition. We have tons of data about how transition stops progression, right? If I came in and said, hey, Elena, you're sitting at the dining room table, I'm going to move you to the den. And then in 45 minutes, now I'm going to move you back to the living room. Well, then Elena is losing progress on working. So for me, if I have a kiddo that has ECSC, I want him to have all of those minutes with those yummy, yummy, yummy ECSC teachers so they are ready to roll into kindergarten crushing it.
A parent requests an accommodation for her child because she has difficulty getting him to school.
So there's no accommodation when you're not at school. You can certainly look at, I would request in-home parent training. An in-home parent training evaluation might be very helpful. What is that? When a child needs a skill that's not being generalized to both settings. So that would be the assessment I would ask for them.
Okay. I'm being told a speech-only child can't receive OT because it's not a related service under SI.
Correct.
Can a school refuse my request to remove my son from special education and be placed in general ed?
If you would like to revoke your consent for special education and related services, you do that in writing. This week is our last series in procedural safeguards. You have the right to revoke consent. It's your consent to give, and it's your consent to revoke. That being said, do understand that the protections that he had under an IEP will be gone the day that you revoke them.
Okay. Can a parent deny testing for an intellectual disability and only allow speech impairment?
No, because this is not a parent-only decision. This is not a school-only decision. This is a committee decision. I understand why parents don't want that. But that's fear-based. We do not educate based on fear. We educate based on facts. And so when we know what those facts are, whether they're facts we didn't want to have, we have to mourn those outcomes and then roll our sleeves up and write an IEP to serve that kiddo.
Okay. And I just want to give a shout out for Juliet. She says she loves your lives. She's a civil rights attorney with a 504 daughter and an IEP son.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Julie. An attorney, those are people that go to college and finish. That is impressive.
Not a quitter.
Not a quitter.
Okay. We've had many people asking about your thoughts about having a one-to-one parah and how you go about it. I've seen several different people asking it.
So I'm not a fan of that level of restriction. So I love educators, I love paras, I love teachers, I love principals, I love volleyball coaches, I love superintendents. Here's the thing. When I am on your hip for the entire 375-minute instructional day, that's not clean data. I have no idea what Billy can do. I don't know what he can do. I cannot even tease it out. So I find that people are asking for that because something else isn't happening. So my first question to a client, and I have clients who have a one-on-one para, not very many of them, but the question is, if it's 375 minutes for the instructional day, you can't find 10 minutes they don't need a para, you can't find someplace that he's engaged, you want a para to run beside him at recess. I don't really find that kids need a para for the whole day. When he's happily eating his lunch, the para needs to be on top of him. So let's do what we would do when I do the training, because you're all going to be at the 2-day intensive, and we literally go through the instructional day. Sit down and have that conversation. When does he get to school? He gets to school at 7:45. What happens at 7:45? He goes to breakfast. Does he like that? He loves it. Okay. I don't need a para on his hip. Okay. Then what happens? He goes to Miss Cindy's class. What happens? Carpet time. We decide if we need a jacket or a scarf because we live in Pennsylvania. We have a song. Does he like that? He loves that. Then he doesn't need a para. A para is a need, and it's a last resort. So I think that when we do it that way, I'm totally on board for those support minutes, but I don't need a para to stand beside you when the teacher's teaching. If she's teaching, I'm not going, she said this, she said that. So let's really look at what that looks like and where can we begin to fade that support so that he can have gainful employment, independent living, and further education, and whatever that looks like.
Okay. What if a parent only send their child to school for only 2 days the entire year? We think he has Crohn's, but there's no diagnosis.
I mean, obviously something's going on. We have a duty as an educational entity to go and try to support that parent, maybe social services, social work services. Most parents don't know what they don't know. Most people don't know what they don't know. And so they might think they're going to be in trouble, so they just don't send them. So somebody needs to reach out to the parent and ask, how can we support you, right? We want for him to have an education. And if he can't come to school, then we could offer him homebound, whether he's Gen Ed, 504, or IEP. So let's look at knocking on the door. How can we support mom and dad or grandma or whoever he's living with? And what do they need? That's our job as an educational system.
Okay. Can a teacher fail a student with an IEP?
A student can get a failing grade that has an IEP. Correct. I hope that's not the goal. I hope that's not the goal. So, usually when kids have an IEP and they're still struggling with grades, not always. So everybody take a breath. Everybody calm down. Don't get ready to start typing. And I'm not talking about behavioral kiddos, but usually the reason they're failing is because you've given them work they can't do. I'm talking about academic needs, right? So if you're reading on a first grade level and you're sitting in science, you can't do it, right? If you didn't modify the work. And so I don't want you to give him a pass. I don't want you to give any kid a pass. But the problem in the world in special ed is inequity. The solution is access. So adjust their access so there can be equity. I'm going to need some more emojis for that. I just feel like.
Here, let me send you some.
Can I add my own? Is there an emoji button for me? Can I emoji myself? Cindy, I'm going to need you to research that. Golly.
What is the likelihood of getting my son from Gen Ed into life skills?
The likelihood? So we get them in the setting that's appropriate. But I don't want a kid to go from Gen Ed to life skills. I want to look at a child's instructional day across content areas. So literally, and this is how we do the training, I take a piece of paper and a pad of paper, and I will say, before we start the meeting, can we just go over his instructional day? When does school start? 7:45. Okay, what happens then? Breakfast. When is breakfast open? 8:15. Okay? What happens at 8:15? Boom. I don't have kids that need to be in life skills all day long. Never served a kiddo that needs to be in life skills that wasn't probably in need of some homebound, right? So you're not going to live your life in life skills. So our job is to provide that inclusion where it's appropriate so that he can be ready for post-secondary success. And we can find that time.
Absolutely. My son walked out of the class 3 times, and that's with having a BIP. The teacher isn't concerned. What can I do?
I would reach out to the principal because his staff member is not concerned about my students staying where instruction is occurring.
Okay.
Can't get ready for that state test if you're not in the room. But
Exactly.
I just love Stephanie with these glasses. I just feel like all we need is like give her like the cloak. Yes. Order in the court. She's like this. I like it. Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody said define extended time. So I will define extended time. So that is when a child, if they had some more time, it would make it equitable, right? I rarely have kids that really need extended time. They usually need a different educational product, right? What if I made you stay after work? What if I made you work harder and you have a disability? So if a kid needs extended time across the board, then we're giving them work that's too hard. They should go to school and feel successful. But there are a few kids that I serve that need extended time maybe in reading or extended time in math. In that meeting, though, we need to talk about what is the measurement. So I always say, I live in Texas. Our friends in Austin, that's the capital. That's the only capital I know. Clearly, I did not know the capital of Tennessee the other day. It is not Nashville. It's not Nashville. That's what they tell me. So I would say, the State Department of Education is want you to give a measurement, right? So if Elena says Billy needs extended time, I would say, is it 25%, 50%? But it's not up to. There's no such thing as up to, because if you said up to 100%, then I might think Billy can just get it together and do it. And Elena feels really sorry for Billy and gives him 100% time. So have a measurement, and then we need to meter that and take data on it. Was he successful? Did it change the outcomes of the testing? The point of the accommodation is to change outcomes. If it doesn't change the outcome, then you can get rid of it.
Okay. How should CTE staff address testing modification when industry certification tests don't allow?
So, public school and a job are two different things. So, special ed is about what does a child need now, right? So, you can have post-secondary and transition goals, but the CTE staff doesn't modify anything. Special educators modify a product. And if you need it modified, then we modify it. The modification is to provide equity and access. Don't care about what we're doing in the job force. We'll get him ready, and we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Okay. If a child has a lung disease and a 504, can they be excluded from a reward trip for missing too much school?
I mean, those are tough conversations that you have to have. I mean, I have kiddos. There's that goofy AR. Somebody tell me if you like AR. Do not raise your hand. So that you have to read 562,000 million books. Well, why would I do that to a kid who has dyslexia? That's not right. So we try to have that conversation in the meeting. Billy has a medical concern that's profound, acute, and expected to impact him for a lifetime. Is there something else that he could do to earn that trip? Like, we're not asking for our 504 or special ed kids to have a pass. We don't do that. My staff doesn't do that. We're asking for equity.
Okay. What's going to be happening once we finish TikTok Ask the Advocate?
More lipstick, hopefully some wonton soup in a cup. If you've never had your soups in a cup, it's fantastic. An egg roll. A little more hairspray because my hair is not quite as big. It's not taking up 2 or 3 cubes. And then we will be at the Amazing Special Education Academy with all the amazing, good-looking, happy professional developers where we do our weekly professional development. Thank you, REM, for that. And we'll be finishing up our series, Procedural Rights and Safeguards for the Individual with Disability and the Parent. And then next week we'll start our amazing, the powerful, positive, profound impact of amazing paraprofessionals. Somebody write that down because I'm not going to remember that. I do love an alliteration though. But yeah, that's where we are training for reigning at the IEP table. And 3/4 of the people in the academy are educators. They're school-based members. Why do you think that is? Because you had an amazing education in college, but that's not going to serve you 2 years later. because 2 years later, your state regs have already changed. And so you need ongoing continuing ed that's about what's happening weekly in your life. So specialeducationacademy.com, go to trainings and you can put your information in there. What is RTI? Response to intervention. It's something that general ed teachers use to try to adjust a gap for kiddos.
I have a parah who teaches and talks to the student while I'm teaching. How do I get her to stop?
Say, I really, really, really appreciate your support. It's hard for a child to listen to two people talking at once. So if you're, as soon as I'm done, I will indicate that you can start working with the kiddo. Or just get out Stephanie's glasses and when she starts, just go, all right, what are you doing?
Yep. Okay. Should an inclusion student have at least one grade level goal?
Well, a special ed goal is not a grade level goal. The goal is not to be at grade level. The goal is to teach a strategy where there's a skill deficit. So the goal is never, let's stop saying that, for the child to be on grade level. The goal is to work on the deficit, and then we as a committee are going to decide what sort of gains is the child going to make this year. I have a child that reads 29 words correct per minute. The child is a 7th grader. 7th graders read 150 words correct per minute. So it's unlikely he'll ever read that fast. So we looked and we had a conversation, and we believe with this new reading program that he can add 20 more words for this year. I think that's reasonable. You have to look at this thing, right? It took him 12 years to read this much. And you have to look at reality, right? I don't need the goal to be 5 million things. You have to look at what's, as somebody said, what's realistic and what's attainable. We want our kids to be successful.
Absolutely. How do you get student funds to cross county lines for a school of choice?
You have a car with no license plate, late at night, drive them over there. That's what I would do. I don't know where the fund Feduntry truck is. I think that it's probably getting charged somewhere with electricity. I don't know how you do that.
Is an accommodation to allow a student to retest below 50% appropriate for a 504?
Maybe. If a child's getting 50s, maybe that 504 ain't that. Maybe that's not what he needs. I am not a fan of retesting. Life doesn't let you retest. It doesn't. So there's a reason that you provided instruction and he, when he was tested, got a 50%. Let's talk about that reason instead of just retesting. Because allegedly, I learned a lot of subjects in schools. I have no idea where most states are, if they're connected to Canada. I'm not really sure. My last son went off to college in Kansas and we were there. And I asked my husband, I said, what's the next state? And I said, is there another state before Canada? And he just looked at, he goes, yeah. I said, is there more than one state? He said, I can't talk to you. We learn all this stuff in school. I have no idea why. Why don't we work on people skills, negotiation, being kind, how to have successful group conversations, how to pay all of your bills and not spend your money at, the Target. We force kids to learn all of these stuff. Why? Why do I need to learn land forms? Why? What are the 13 colonies? I don't know. Why do we have so much time with these little amazing cherubs that we are so busy trying to graduate them, we sometimes never educate them. Do you know what the 13 colonies are, Elena, off the top of your head? Go.
Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, New York, Vermont, Maine. Now my sister knows the rest.
And you know what? Let the people say amen. Yeah. Thank you.
Teach kindergarten for a reason.
Ma'am, this is not the TikTok wineries. Yeah.
Now I could tell you all the 50 states in alphabetical order if you want. I'd have to sing it, but I could do it. My singing isn't very good.
Wow. That's fantastic. We'll have a webinar. Can you sing your states? My father-in-law on the cruise this weekend, do you know the state animal? What's the state animal of Florida? Tigger?
No, that cat thing. The bobcat, isn't it?
She did not say the cat thing. Oh, I found out this weekend it's Armadillo. Did you know that, Stephanie?
For Texas?
Yeah. That's not even an animal. Like the animal for the state should be able to be, purchased at Petco. I feel like.
So I would assume that was an armadillo on your bed the other day.
I think that was a rat. When I walked in, I thought it was a baby hippo. I was like, clearly that man does not want me to put cash in the extra tip envelope. We only got 2 animals on the cruise. 4 nights and only, I'm like.
You did better than me. We only got 1.
And your mother's a presidential intergalactic elite.
That's funny. I thought it was falling iguanas, but truly it's the Florida panther.
It is? Elena, it's that cat thing.
I knew it was a cat.
I think for Florida, it should be Pooh. That should be the state animal.
I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah.
We have time for one last question, Miss Karen.
Yes, ma'am.
If anybody should want your services or services of your advocate, how do they get in touch?
Just advocate at specialeducationacademy.com. We're having a 2-day live, the last live for 2024, November 2nd and 3rd. Be there or be square. And then we're going to have a live in person in Orlando, February 15th and 16th. Live. And you can meet me in person and see that I'm tall in person. So, and we'll have a contest. We'll vote to see how many blazers I have. We'll raffle off a blazer. Everybody gets a tube of lipstick and a small handheld hairspray and a little tiny back comb. But if you want to reach out to us, it's advocate at specialeducationacademy.com. Remember, when we get it right for the child, we get it right for everybody. We'll see you guys next training.